All right, listen, I'm going to start off the video like this. Who cares what people think about your music? Who cares?
Bolo!
Now, usually I try to come up with some type of script or something to really say in these videos, but I'm just going to go off the top of the dome. And if I mess up, I just mess up. I just want to talk to you guys real quick about a situation that happened with a fellow subscriber. So one of our fellow congregation members hit me up on IG, and he was saying that he played his beats for an A&R. He said an A&R that worked for Atlantic or something like that. The guy's name, who he said, I've never heard of this guy, so I don't really know if he's like a real A&R for Atlantic or not. But it really doesn't matter because I'm not going to go that deep into it. But he basically said the guy like dogged him out bad. In his words, he was like, man, the guy said my beats were horrible. He was saying for somebody who was his age, which he was an older gentleman, I think he was close to his 40s. He said, since, he said he was making beats for over 20 years. And the guy just said he went in. Like he said that the guy was like, his beats are not that good. And his structure was not good. And he can tell that he hasn't been around real professionals and all this other type of stuff. And I can tell, that he was pretty down. So I basically told him what I'm saying right now is, so what? One person's opinion does not mean that the world is about to come to an end. And I get a lot of direct messages and emails, like for people saying that, hey, I want to play you my beats and can you please check them out and, let me know what you think. Now, when you do certain stuff like that, you got to understand what's going to come with it. Some people are going to be polite and some people are not going to be as polite as others. And me, I'm kind of like in the middle ground. Like I try to, be polite, and sometimes I got to be a little aggressive sometimes with some people because they just don't understand that when you're telling them something that could advance their career, they kind of get in their feelings or whatever. But, a lot of times I try to stay in that middle ground because I really try to uplift people the best way I can. But in certain situations, you hear something that is just not really that good at all, and you still have to try to be as polite as possible, but it still comes off bad because you really can't say anything that is like good. But when you run into those situations, to all of my producers, to all of my artists, my writers, whoever, managers, whoever, whatever you do in the music game, if you go through a situation where somebody does not agree on what you do, that is just one person. That is one person out of a whole bunch of people that you have to deal with. Now, if you get advice from 100 people and they tell you the same thing, then maybe you might need to switch something up. Or you might need to, get better. You might need to do some more YouTube University courses or something. Book time with a popular producer and try to learn some trades or, get around some more talented people than you are if you can, like something. But if you go to one person or maybe a couple people, let's just say about 4 or 5 people, and, they kind of tell you, one person might be pretty hard on you. The next person might say, it's not as bad, but you could work on some things or whatever. That's only 5 people out of 8 billion people in this earth. Okay. And right now in the good old US of A, we have about 350 million people here. And there are a lot of people who are just haters. There's some people who are very stern in what they do and what they say and how they live their life. And there's some people that are very easygoing and they can just see the good in everything. But for anybody to get upset over one person's opinion, who cares? Because the same people who are judging you are the same people a lot of times who say, oh, this certain song is a hit record and the song is a flop. Nobody knows what is great until the greatness happens. Nobody knows. Like, look at, I remember an old interview with Ice Cube in it. And we all know the famous movie Friday. Like, classic Classic movie. Friday is super classic. And I remember him saying the first screening of Friday, I know they were sitting there thinking like, oh man, this is not good. They were thinking in their heads, oh, this is not good. This is not good. They thought it wasn't good. Until they did the screening and people were like, yo, this thing is incredible. This movie is funny. This is whatever. And then it became a cult classic. Right now, there's a whole bunch of beats right now that I don't want to play, but I play them anyway because a lot of times the beats that I do not like are the ones that other people like. And that's just how things work. Imagine if I'd have played all the beats I liked and didn't play none of the other beats, and then people would be like, we don't like those beats, Bolo. You know what I'm saying? So that's why a lot of times I go ahead and I play pretty much whatever I make for that month, I just play it. And I play it for a whole bunch of artists. And usually they will pick the beats that I do not like. Because that's my opinion. My opinion is I think I like these beats than these other ones. But then somebody else's opinion is like, hey, I like the beats you don't like. You about to give that away? So that's why I tell people, if somebody doesn't like your stuff, who cares? Because somebody's trash might be somebody else's treasure. And this is, like I said before, it's not for producers. This is for engineers. This is for artists. This is for writers. This is for everybody. Who cares? If right now, if you go and you want to start a YouTube page and you want to upload beats to YouTube, and somebody might come underneath it and say, oh, this beat is trash. Well, guess what? You're right here with everybody else that makes music on YouTube. Because every time I make a beat, whether it's good, bad, whatever, they're going to say it's trash. And then I might make a trash beat and somebody might come around and say, hey, that beat sounds good. That's just the nature of being in music. Everybody has their own vision. Everybody has their own reality of how music should be. Like everybody has their own way of how music is. It's very subjective. So don't sit here and decide like, oh, I don't want to do music anymore because an A&R from a record label said that they don't like my music. Man, do you know how many beats and stuff they turned down? How many songs they've said that were not hits that turned out to be some of the greatest songs in the world? You can't go off of one person's opinion. And this is for you, my friend. You know who I'm talking to. This is for you. It doesn't matter. Now, I didn't hear the beats. Now, if you want to send me the beats, you can, but I ain't here. But if the beats are not that good, I'm going to tell you straight up, hey, you're going to have to, put a little bit more work in this thing and, get a little bit better. But if they're okay, I'm going to tell you, dude is tripping. They're pretty cool. You know what I'm saying? Get the right artists or whatever on it, get the right writers, the right singer. This could be something. Because we got to understand is it takes more than just a beat to make a song. This is what people have to realize. It takes the right beat, the right artist, the right elements of the song, which means songwriting, mixing, all that type of stuff, the right energy, all that stuff goes into making these hit records. A lot of times these records right now are being manufactured. They're putting out records that a group of people saying that, oh, these records are the best ones. Let's throw a whole bunch of money behind them and put them out in the world. And a lot of times they do good for the 5, 6, 7 weeks they got paid for, and then they just die out and they're not really remembered like that. But then you have some records that were made in somebody's house that just have that feeling and it resonated with a whole bunch of people and they became hit records with little to no money and no input from anybody else. So that's why I tell people a lot of times is when people tell you that something isn't good, you need to work on it, it's terrible, it's this, that, whatever, don't worry about that. Make music that makes you happy. Make music that you like to make. And I guarantee you, if you keep making that music, it's going to be certain imperfections that will be perfected along the way. If you like to make heavy synthesized music, It might sound a little crazy at first when you first start out, but the more and more you do it, the more and more your brain adapts to saying, oh, well, let me switch this to make this sound better. Let me do this and let me do that. It's like riding a bicycle. The more and more you do it, the better you get. So don't sit here and worry about one person's opinion. Forget all that. Now, if you have 1,000 people telling you, yeah, okay, I understand that. But one person's opinion in music, nah. And then plus somebody who I can't even find. So I don't even know if they're a real A&R. I hope you ain't paid a guy. Because then I really know it's, might have been a scam issue. I don't know. But for everybody out there, just because people do not like your stuff, you got to understand that it's all subjective. And who cares? Who cares about that? If you're happy with making the music that you like to make, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. That's it.